Hello and welcome. This is the fourth video of a 10-part web series on the PPILOW project. PPILOW means Poultry and Pig Low Input and Organic Production Systems Welfare. The main objective of the project is to co-design innovations to improve the welfare of poultry and pigs raised in organic and free-range production systems through a multi-stakeholder approach implemented by 23 partners in 9 European countries. The previous videos were about the project and the partners, the poultry and pig welfare apps IBEN and PPILOW, Today, in this video, the focus will be on an important aspect of improving poultry welfare, promoting natural behavior in free-range systems such as exploratory behavior. Expressing those positive behaviors could help lower the risk of negative behaviors such as feather picking. In free-range systems, chickens stay in the barn at the beginning of their lives before they are allowed access to an outdoor space called the range. This range is often considered as a type of environmental enrichment, where animals can express a large panel of natural behaviors such as foraging, locomotion, and dust bathing. However, huge variations can be observed in the use of this range between individuals. Those variations in range use could be explained by external factors such as season, the presence of vegetation, and animal density. Range use can also be influenced by internal factors such as age, sex, and perhaps personality, which can be defined as inter-individual and behavioral differences. Since the range is an environment where chickens are expected to explore, Junia and INRAE researchers involved in the PPILOW project hypothesized that variation in explorative behaviors, such as foraging and environment picking, would be correlated to the age of chickens. Furthermore, since chickens are a social species, it was also expected that social motivation would be correlated with range use over time. A sample of 120 male broiler chickens from 2 flocks were followed over 2 seasons and during 3 periods, over which focal behavioral observations in home environment conditions and social motivation tests were performed. Chicken range use was also assessed during the whole rearing period. Focal behavioral observations in home environment conditions consisted of observing each focal animal for 30 seconds, 4 to 5 times a day according to the season. The observer recorded the duration or number of occurrences of each behavior performed by the individual. To determine the use of the range by each focal chicken, the experimenter, while seated on a high chair and using binoculars, recorded the identified birds ranging outside. 5 to 7 scans per day according to the seasons were performed. Previous research from the same group of scientists has shown that the number of range visits is positively correlated with how far chickens go from the barn. The scan measurements were performed for 10 days. In the social motivation test, each chicken was placed in a box located at the end of a corridor. At the end of this corridor were located 3 other chickens. The longer the chicken is close to its conspecifics, the longer its level of sociability is. Results from focal behavioral observations showed that the expression of most behaviors decreased as chicken aged, apart from rest, which increased in frequency. To verify whether chickens showcase a personality, researchers investigated the within-individual consistency of behaviors over time. Resting behavior and the time spent near conspecifics during the social motivation test became consistent only after range access. However, foraging behavior showed within-individual consistency over all periods and for both seasons studied. Similarly to its wild ancestor jungle fowl, behavioral consistency of free-range chicken can appear early during the individual development for some, but not all behaviors. Another interesting result was that foraging was the only behavior to show a positive correlation to the number of range visits. The combination of those results from this experiment hints that chickens' foraging behaviors and range use may be part of the same personality axis, since these 2 exploratory behaviors correlate with each other and show individual consistency over time and across situations. Some chickens are motivated to exit the barn and go outdoors to range and forage, despite the indoor presence of everything necessary for their growth and survival, such as food, water, and conspecifics. This suggests that these individuals are more prone to make efforts to feed than those who stay in the barn. When animals prefer to make efforts to obtain food instead of acquiring it from freely available sources, this behavioral expression is called contrafreeloading. Hence, in a new study, Junia and Inrai scientists decided to investigate whether and how contrafreeloading would vary between chickens with different ranging behavior patterns classified in low and high ranges, and between different age periods under individual test conditions identical to the previous experiment testing conditions. First, chickens were exposed to an area with mealworms directly on the ground, meaning their food was easily accessible. Then, the chickens were exposed to another compartment where the mealworms were mixed with substrate. Here, the food was more difficult to obtain for the chickens. After presenting each compartment individually several times, the chickens were exposed to both areas at the same time. But this time, the chambers were empty of substrate and mealworms. The time chickens spent in each chamber was recorded. This experiment allowed to measure the motivation of the chickens to search for the food in the substrate or to eat the freely available worms. The studies have provided some new insights into questions that are still open to discussion and provide information on the characteristics of individuals in a group. Future studies should focus on early life conditions to increase group foraging and motivate all individuals to use the range more. Improving knowledge of individual characteristics is a necessary step to improve the welfare of free-range chickens on farms. If you want to know more about the experiments shown in this video, scan these QR codes to access the articles describing them. The results showed that low rangers showed no preference for any of the two chambers, and high rangers showed a preference for the compartment where food was accessible with more difficulty. Using the results of the focal behavioral observations from the first experiment, the researchers were able to establish a link between the contrafreeloading phenomenon and the ranging behavior. Thus, high rangers were more prone to make efforts to obtain their food than low rangers during the contrafreeloading test. This experiment confirms the interest of studying exploration behaviors like foraging in connection with range use.